And for more on the topic of pollution, we're now joined in the studio by Ms. Wu Changhua, the Greater China Director at the Climate Group. Welcome, Ms. Wu. So, how does this newly introduced law on protection of the environment affect companies who might be polluting the environment and also the environmental industry who might be reaping benefits from this?
The newly enacted law has two major features, quite different from before. One is the cost. If a company fails to, enforce, comply with the laws, regulations, they're going to be penalized financially at a much higher level. Secondly, if they violate the law, there's going to be potentially criminal charges, so they need to be held accountable, liable actually for the environmental quality. So those are going to be the two most forceful measures actually to make sure companies, polluters in particular, they need to really pay attention to their environmental behavior, make sure the operations, the industrial facilities comply with the laws and regulations, that they are required to install technologies, management to make sure the emissions discharges are complying with the regulation.
And do you think it is the right time, because China's economy has been slowing, that might add another layer of strain on those businesses who are running at difficulties?
This kind of thinking is pretty much common, I think, in China and also to other parts of the world. Basically, companies are always complaining about the costs, the burden, and concerned about their competitiveness issue. So this is not unique to Chinese company at all. But in the meantime, actually, we need to think about why are we growing our economy. It's really for the quality of the living standard of people. And so rather than just pursuing growth without paying any attention to environmental quality, which has been sort of we're bearing the consequences these days without paying enough attention to the environmental quality over the last 3 decades or so. So China is already waking up. So that's why we're shifting towards a totally different paradigm. That is why we're emphasizing the ecological civilization, we're emphasizing environmental quality, we're emphasizing air pollution control, water pollution control, soil contamination control, in order to shift it towards much brighter future. And also another point to add, so now because we face such a big environmental challenge, that also creates huge opportunities for environmental technology companies. So environmental industry is already becoming a major economic pillar. So yes, we're going to grow the economy while in the meantime trying to address the environmental issues.
You say that the cost, those who offend those regulations and laws should pay for the cost. But
Definitely.
The problem is, who will enforce these laws? Do we have enough people to make sure that the laws will be implemented? What needs to be done from the perspective of government, the public, and the enterprises to make sure this law is really working?
I think enforcement definitely has been a challenge for China overall when enforcement laws is concerned. But I think the country overall is awakening to the fact that we need to enhance enforcement. So whose duty is it? Of course, the government, the lawmakers, law enforcers. Actually, they need to make sure laws, regulations we adopted already need to be really enforced in reality. So national government, local government needs to be held accountable for the environmental quality. In the meantime, actually, companies need to be incentivized or disincentivized. That's why we have laws on the table today about, say, if you fail, you need to pay very high financial penalties. In the meantime, you potentially could be put in prison, charged with criminal charges, actually. In the meantime, we also need the society. We need a third eye, basically, the civil society, individuals, organizations out there, to make sure there's no room left, or not much room left for companies or polluters who take advantage of the inadequacies of the civil society. And that part needs to be further enforced in China.
Of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you.